They've been watching us, not from distant galaxies, but from across the thin veil that separates our known world from the unknown. For centuries, ancient texts, forbidden carvings, and eyewitness testimonies have whispered of contact, encounters with non-human intelligences that shaped our past and may soon define our future. What if the truth isn't in the stars, but in our own forgotten origins? What if the tales of Mars, the myths of global floods, and the growing list of Earth-like exoplanets are not random stories, but puzzle pieces of a cosmic narrative? Tonight, we explore the timeline of contact, the evidence of life beyond Earth, and a shocking possibility that humanity may be the alien species we've been searching for. Long before radar echoes and grainy flying saucer videos, the skies were already speaking. Ancient cultures across the globe, cultures that never communicated or shared borders, etched similar beings into stone. From the Hopi Kachinas and Sumerian Anunnaki to the Vedic gods in flying Vimanas, the earliest chapters of human civilization are littered with stories of sky beings descending to impart knowledge, control bloodlines, or enforce divine laws. These weren't just spirits or metaphors. They were described in physical terms: luminous suits, metallic crafts, thunderous entrances, and clear directives. These ancient records suggest something more akin to observation than worship. First contact, misinterpreted by undeveloped societies. In Egypt, Akhenaten's elongated skull and his sudden monotheism remain anomalies. In Mesopotamia, the heavenly tablets and kings who ruled for thousands of years hinted either fiction or the presence of something far older than recorded history. These weren't isolated myths. They were part of a pattern, a breadcrumb trail suggesting a continuous presence. Fast forward to the 20th century, and that trail becomes unmistakable. In 1942, during the Battle of Los Angeles, anti-aircraft shells lit up the night sky, firing at an unknown object hovering above the city. Official explanations wavered between weather balloon and war jitters, but photographs captured an eerie disk surrounded by searchlights, an image that still defies conventional logic. By 1947, the term flying saucer had entered the global lexicon, thanks to pilot Kenneth Arnold's sighting over Mount Rainier. Just weeks later, the Roswell incident would explode into popular consciousness, with initial military statements confirming a crashed disk before being hastily retracted. It was the birth of modern ufology, but also the beginning of deliberate obfuscation. As the Cold War raged, sightings skyrocketed. Fighter jets were scrambled, radar systems jammed, and military pilots engaged with objects that defied aerodynamics. Project Blue Book, though publicly discredited, amassed thousands of reports, many of which remain unexplained. What became increasingly clear was this: the phenomenon was real, intelligent, and global. But even more disturbing was the recurring theme among contactees and abductees, beings that not only observed, but interacted. They performed tests, showed star charts, and warned of ecological collapse. Were they studying us, guiding us, or reminding us of something we had forgotten? From rural abductions in Brazil to high-level sightings near nuclear installations, the pattern remained eerily consistent. The entities were humanoid, but not human. The ships were material, but beyond our physics. And the message, in subtle fragments, was always the same: we are not alone, and we never have been. But to understand why they might be here, or where they come from, we need to go back. Not just in time, but across space. In the vast emptiness of space, there exists a narrow corridor, an invisible belt winding through the galaxy. Scientists call it the circumstellar habitable zone. Others, with a touch of reverence, refer to it as the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold, but just right. Within this belt, planets can maintain liquid water on their surfaces. It is here, astronomers tell us, that life, as we understand it, could emerge. But what if this zone is not just an astrophysical quirk, but a kind of galactic freeway? A network of way stations, breeding grounds, and perhaps even test labs? The concept that intelligent life could arise independently across multiple star systems within this narrow band challenges the notion of our cosmic uniqueness. It implies we are part of something larger, an evolutionary rhythm playing out on a stage much bigger than Earth. Our solar system lies squarely within this golden region, and we are not alone. Mars, once a watery sibling, shows signs of having once hosted rivers, lakes, and perhaps even oceans. Venus, now a hellish furnace, may have been temperate and blue billions of years ago. Even icy moons like Europa and Enceladus hint at subterranean oceans teeming with possibilities. These aren't far-flung theories anymore. They are active research pursuits by NASA, ESA, and private space agencies alike. The search for life beyond Earth now focuses on these near possibilities, and yet the implications go further. Because if life once flourished on Mars or Venus, we must ask, what happened to it? This brings us to a darker possibility, a cosmic catastrophe, planetary upheaval on a scale we can barely imagine. What if our neighbors weren't just lifeless rocks, but sites of thriving civilizations that fell to ruin? Ancient Martian surface features, like the massive Valles Marineris, over 10 times the length of the Grand Canyon, do not appear to be caused solely by tectonics or wind erosion. Electromagnetic anomalies, such as those discovered in the Martian crust, suggest artificial manipulation. Even the infamous face on Mars, once dismissed as pareidolia, sparked a wave of interest in symmetries and structures that don't quite fit with natural formation. Meanwhile, Earth's myths grow louder in this context. Ancient texts speak of great wars in the sky, celestial weapons, and global floods that reset the world. Hindu Vedic scriptures describe weapons that resemble modern nuclear bombs. Flashes of light, cities turned to ash, and poison in the air. Could these be the echoes of an interplanetary conflict, or perhaps the consequences of a civilization that tampered with forces beyond its control? If Mars was once alive, what drove it to extinction? Climate change? War? Cosmic disaster? Or something far more terrifying? Something that spread? And more importantly, did any of them survive? If humanity did not originate on Earth, but was instead transplanted here, either through natural panspermia or by intelligent intervention, it would explain the abrupt emergence of Homo sapiens in the fossil record. It would explain our disconnect from the natural rhythms of this planet. And it would cast new meaning on every myth, every tale of gods descending from the heavens, every pyramid aligned to stars. In that light, the Golden Zone is not a random gift. It's a corridor of experimentation and perhaps evacuation. If Earth is a seed, it may have been planted intentionally. If Mars is a tomb, it may serve as a warning. And still, our attention turns outward, beyond our solar system, to the stars that glitter like beacons. There, the next clues await. Beneath the red dust and radiation-scorched surface of Mars, the silence is deafening. But what if that silence is not the sound of emptiness, but aftermath? The notion that Mars once hosted life is no longer fringe. NASA's own Viking missions in the 1970s detected possible signs of microbial metabolism. Later, in 1996, the ALH-8401 meteorite, believed to have originated from Mars, revealed structures eerily similar to fossilized bacteria. Mainstream science still debates the implications, but behind closed doors, many agree. Something lived on Mars. Perhaps it still does. However, among the more radical circles of astroarchaeology, the speculation runs deeper. Mars didn't just harbor primitive microbes. It may have once supported a sentient civilization, possibly even a branch of humanity itself. Satellite imagery has revealed anomalies that refuse to be comfortably explained. Geometric formations in Cydonia, the infamous face on Mars, and unnatural rectilinear patterns scattered across the Martian equator. While skeptics dismiss these as tricks of light and erosion, pattern recognition is in our DNA, and what we see looks uncomfortably artificial. But the real mystery lies beneath the surface. In 2018, the Mars Advanced Radar for Subsurface and Ionosphere Sounding, MARSIS, detected what appears to be a reservoir of liquid water beneath the South Pole. This discovery, published in Science, opened the door to the possibility of hidden ecosystems or even subterranean facilities. Why underground? Because Mars is dead above, but perhaps still alive below. There are legends among ancient Earth cultures, particularly the Hopi and Sumerians, that speak of beings who retreated underground after a great disaster. Hollow Earth theories, long mocked, find eerie resonance when one considers Mars not as a hollow planet, but as a buried one. A world turned inside out by necessity. But the deeper question remains, were the Martians human? If not genetically, then spiritually. The concept of Earth being seeded from Mars, either naturally through panspermia or artificially by a spacefaring species, offers an alternative origin story. It suggests we are not Earth's children, but its fosterlings. That Homo sapiens did not evolve here, but were placed here, following a Martian exodus caused by planetary collapse. This would explain the sudden leap in tool use, agriculture, and civilization, approximately 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. A period curiously aligned with the end of the Younger Dryas and global flooding myths. Mainstream science attributes this to climate stabilization. But if Mars' fall forced a migration, Earth may have served as the emergency ark for a dying race. And if so, what happened to the original caretakers of that ark? Did they leave Earth too? Or remain in the shadows, guiding, watching, intervening only when the course of history demanded it? It is possible that the so-called ancient astronauts were not aliens at all, but survivors. Not explorers, but refugees. And if Mars was their Atlantis, then Earth is the remnant colony, the last echo of a civilization that once reached across worlds. Which brings us to the most consistent myth across ancient cultures, the flood. Not a local storm, not a regional deluge, a planetary event, or a cosmic one. Nearly every ancient civilization, from the Babylonians and the Sumerians to the Maya, Norse, and even Aboriginal Australians, tells the tale of a great flood. Not a seasonal overflow, not a river swelling its banks, but a world-ending, sky-splitting, all-consuming deluge. The biblical Noah, the Sumerian Utnapishtim, the Hindu Manu, so many names, one story. Modern historians often reduce these myths to local disasters exaggerated over time. But what if they are remnants of a shared memory, of something global, even interplanetary? What if the flood was not a natural Earth event, but a galactic correction? The idea seems outrageous until we consider the strange uniformity of these flood legends. They all describe an advanced pre-flood civilization suddenly destroyed. They all involve warnings from the sky, celestial omens, or divine intervention. And crucially, they all emphasize survival, not extinction, of a chosen few. A reset. Science, too, whispers echoes of this story. Around 12,800 years ago, during the Younger Dryas, Earth experienced a sudden, drastic cooling event, followed by immense melting. Sea levels rose nearly 400 feet. Massive species like the mammoth vanished. Evidence of impact proxies, nanodiamonds, platinum, and shock-melted minerals suggests a cosmic collision. Some believe this to be a cometary impact. Others point to solar activity or geomagnetic reversal. Whatever it was, the result was the same, a catastrophic upheaval on a planetary scale. But what if Earth wasn't the only victim? What if the same celestial event, be it a passing stellar object, a gamma-ray burst, or an interplanetary war, triggered destruction across multiple worlds within the habitable zone? Venus became a furnace, Mars a corpse, and Earth barely survived. This would explain why ancient myths speak not only of water, but of fire from the sky. Why gods descend to give instructions. Why arks appear, floating vessels, domes, or underground sanctuaries designed not just to save humans, but to preserve knowledge. And it explains the whispers of watchers, the recurring presence of strange beings during transitional ages of humanity, always in times of collapse, always in moments of rebirth. Some suggest that these gods were not divine, but remnants of an earlier civilization with access to technology advanced enough to seem miraculous. They didn't merely survive the flood, they prepared for it. Manipulated genetics, stored information. Perhaps they even built the megalithic structures we still cannot explain today. Göbekli Tepe, Baalbek, the pyramids. And what of the flood itself? Could it have been an intentional act? A sterilization event? A reset button? If so, we must ask, reset by whom? Was it a natural cosmic rhythm? A godlike intelligence pruning its garden? Or a desperate measure by survivors to cleanse and control a corrupted biosphere? Whatever the origin, the aftermath is clear. Earth was reshaped, civilizations buried, and the memory of our origins obscured. But we are remembering, slowly, painfully, through myths, symbols, and now telescopes. Because as we gaze outward into the night sky, we find more worlds, more clues, and among them, something that feels like home. In 1992, the first confirmed exoplanet was discovered orbiting a pulsar, a dead star. It was an odd beginning, but since then, our tools have sharpened and our eyes have widened. As of now, over 5,000 exoplanets have been cataloged. Gas giants, super-Earths, ocean worlds. Many lie within the habitable zones of their stars. Many resemble early Earth, and some are eerily familiar. The most famous, TRAPPIST-1, boasts 7 rocky planets, 3 of which orbit in the star's habitable zone. They could host liquid water, they may host life, and they are only 40 light-years away. In cosmic terms, that's the distance between neighboring towns. Then there's Proxima Centauri b, our closest known exoplanet, orbiting the red dwarf next door. It lies within its star's Goldilocks zone and may harbor an atmosphere. If life exists, or existed there, it may be looking right back at us. But here's where it gets stranger. Some of these worlds show anomalies, fluctuating brightness that doesn't match planetary motion, heat signatures that suggest artificial structures. The infamous Tabby star still defies explanation. One theory posits the existence of a Dyson sphere, a hypothetical megastructure built to harvest a star's energy. Far-fetched? Maybe. But even respected astrophysicists like Freeman Dyson suggested we search for such evidence. More recently, James Webb Space Telescope data has revealed atmospheres with potential biosignatures: methane, carbon dioxide, even hints of water vapor. These gases don't just appear, they're often byproducts of life. And yet, among all the excitement, something else lingers: a subtle sense of déjà vu. Why do so many of these exoplanets mirror Earth's early history? Volcanoes, magnetic fields, weather systems, seasonal cycles. It's as if we're seeing not just other planets, but other Earths. As though the blueprint of habitable life is not random, but intentional. Which raises a question. What if Earth wasn't the original? What if our planet is just one stop on a long migration? Some researchers suggest we should be looking not just for alien life, but for human life elsewhere. Or more accurately, pre-human life. The seed bearers, the architects. If Earth was seeded, it might have been part of a larger program. A cosmic ark-ship system, a fail-safe against extinction. Maybe not for animals, maybe not even for biology, but for memory, because consciousness, like water, can flow. And perhaps somewhere out there, on a planet we haven't yet seen, are the memories of who we were. Before Mars, before the flood, before we forgot. Some of the signals we receive, those odd, repeating fast radio bursts, may not be anomalies. They may be attempts to awaken, to reconnect, to remind us. But the question remains, if we were planted here, then who planted us? And why now? After thousands of years of silence? Do the skies seem so loud? The answers may not lie in the stars alone, but in the timing, in the patterns, in what comes next. Across the tapestry of human history, we see recurring motifs of descent from the stars, beings of light, gods who walked among men, and promises that one day they would return. For generations, this was myth. For skeptics, metaphor. But what if these ancient messages were not folklore, but encoded truth? Modern UFO phenomena no longer exist in the shadows of conspiracy. In 2020, the U.S. Department of Defense released official Navy footage of unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, performing maneuvers that defy our known physics. In 2023, whistleblowers from within the intelligence community claimed under oath that non-human biologics and crashed craft have been recovered. The world barely blinked, not because we disbelieved, but because part of us already knew. The question is no longer if we are being visited, but why. And that brings us to the most unsettling possibility of all. We are not the observed. We are the experiment, or worse, the forgotten descendants of something greater. Consider the psychological phenomenon known as contact memory, cases in which individuals under hypnosis or trauma recall experiences with beings not of this world. Many describe similar scenarios: warnings of destruction, images of Earth aflame, or of rising oceans. But curiously, they also speak of a reunion, a time when the stars will realign and the guardians will return. Some believe these are hallucinations. Others call them implants of false memory. But there's another interpretation. These are ancestral echoes, data embedded within our consciousness, like dormant code awaiting activation. If Earth was seeded as part of a larger interstellar migration, then perhaps contact is not about them coming to us. Perhaps it is about us remembering them. We look to Mars and wonder if we came from there. We look to exoplanets and wonder if others are out there. But perhaps we should be looking inward, into our dreams, our DNA, our myths. Because the clues have always been with us. The pyramids aligned to Orion. The Nazca lines visible only from the air. The Dogon tribe's knowledge of Sirius B long before its discovery. Coincidences? Or inherited memory? What if the flood myths, the Martian ruins, the ancient gods are all fragments of the same message? That the universe is alive, that civilizations rise and fall in cycles, and that we are nearing the end, or beginning of one. The concept of the Great Year, a 26,000-year precessional cycle, was known to the ancients. Many believed it marked not just astronomical changes, but civilizational resets. We are, coincidentally or not, reaching the climax of that cycle right now. Climate is shifting. Magnetic poles are drifting. Solar activity is rising. And the UAP presence, long subtle, is becoming harder to ignore. The signs are converging. And maybe that's the point, because contact isn't a single event. It's a slow remembering, a peeling away of illusion, a reawakening of a species that forgot it came from the stars. If that's true, then everything is different. We are not alone. We were never alone. And now, after millennia of silence, they are coming home.